Why does love scare us so much? Let us begin by recognizing that love and fear are not simply opposites, but often intimately connected. In many of our lives, the very idea of love triggers a tremor, a hesitation, a recoil, and this is what we want to explore. According to Sadhguru, love is not merely a sentimental emotion directed at someone else, but a fundamental quality of your being, a state of inclusion rather than exclusion. He points out that when people say, "I love you," what they might actually be saying is, "I need you to complete me. I need you to make me feel safe," or "I don't want to lose you." That kind of love is rooted in dependency, in fear of being incomplete without the other. Sadhguru says, the moment love becomes a need, it is no longer love in its sublime sense, but a form of bondage. He writes that love must be unconditional, and that whenever there is a condition, it becomes a transaction. From his article, What is True Love? A Deeper Insight, he argues that when love is lent with expectations, if you do this, I will love you. If you don't do that, I will stop loving you. Then you are building your relationship on a shifting sand. You are building your life on the fragility of another being's action. And that is precisely why love scares us. When we build our emotional life on something fragile, delicate, external, something that can change or disappear, fear is inevitable. Sadhguru uses the metaphor, if you built your house not on the earth, but on a flower because it is beautiful, you will always live in fear. The flower may smell, may bloom, but it is not a secure foundation. He says, if you build your house on the flower, you are always afraid. So many of our love stories are houses built on flowers. We love someone or something, and then we fear losing them, or we fear they might change, or we fear we might fail. From his Discourse on Fear, he says the real basis of fear is that you are not living with life, you are living in your mind. Your fear is always about what's going to happen next. It is always about the non-existent. If you're suffering the non-existent, we call that insanity. So people are always suffering, either what happened yesterday or what may happen tomorrow. That means you are building emotional experiences out of memory and imagination, not out of the present reality. Source: when you love not from presence but from need, your mind reasons, what if they leave me? What if I lose them? What if they change? Those mental movies create fear. Therefore, love and fear are linked because one stands on expectation and the other on insecurity. In Sadhguru's framework, the path out is to root yourself in your own inner completeness, your own presence, your own state of being, not dependent on the other. He says, if it really becomes like that two beings have become like one, then that is wonderful. It is not an ultimate possibility, but it is still a beautiful way to live. But note, two beings becoming one does not mean I cannot exist without you. It means you are so full within yourself that you are whole, and in that wholeness you can include another without losing yourself. So why does love scare us so much? Because we frequently run love from emptiness, from lack, from fear, not from fullness. We use love as a crutch, as a support, as a hedge against our loneliness. We say, I cannot live without you. And Sadhguru says that is not different from saying, I cannot walk without a crutch. When you attach your survival to someone or something, then love becomes fear in disguise. The fear of loss, change, rejection, abandonment arises. So the first step in your video is unpack the fear behind love. Invite your audience to ask, am I loving someone because I feel incomplete without them? Or am I loving because I am complete and I wish to include them? Then we move into the second step. What is true love? Sadhguru writes that true love is not about making someone feel less lonely, but about expanding yourself, about opening to life in its vastness. Love is a way you are, not something you do. He gives a simple process. For 15 to 20 minutes daily, go sit with something. That means nothing to you, maybe a tree, a pebble, a worm, an insect. After some time, you will find you can look upon it with as much love as you do your partner or your mother or child. That exercise is about dissolving the boundary of who you think you are and who you think the other is, and realizing that love is not selective. That practice helps you drop the expectation that love must be reciprocated, or that love must be something you earn, or something that holds you safe. When love becomes a state of being, not a reaction to someone else, fear decreases. Then examine what is the nature of love when there is no fear. Sadhguru argues that when you are blissful by your own nature, being loving is not a problem, only when you are seeking blissfulness. Through love, then you will be very selective about whom to be loving with. The moment you are seeking love to fill you, you will fear losing that source of filling. But when you are inherently blissful, love flows without fear. He explains that when you look at everything lovingly, the whole world becomes beautiful in your experience. So you invite your audience. What if love becomes the way you look at life, not a contract? Then you need to address the practical challenges. What about attachment, expectation, vulnerability? Sadhguru does not deny vulnerability or that love may hurt. He says love is a fragile dimension of life. That does not reduce its significance, but if you make it the foundation of your life, you will always be anxiety-ridden. So your video can reflect. True love includes vulnerability, but it does not include dependence. Dependency is fear masquerading as love. So the task is shift from loving someone because you must have them to loving someone because you can include them whilst remaining your own center. Then you can embrace vulnerability without fear of annihilation because your identity is not at stake. The next section can focus on how to transition from fear-based love to awareness-based love. Sadhguru proposes that you become aware of your mind, your patterns, your expectations. Fear arises because your mind is projecting into future or past. The remedy is presence. Root in your body, root in life. When you are rooted, your mind's tinkering stops. You feel capable of loving without holding. This shift is essential for your audience to understand why love scares them and how it can stop scaring them. You can propose steps. 1. Self-investigation. Ask yourself, where does your love come from? Is it from need or from fullness? 2. Practice presence. Simple sitting with something you don't care about for 15-20 minutes to expand your capacity for love beyond your personal story. 3. Release expectation. Acknowledge that love in its pure form is not a guarantee. There is no insurance for love. Sadhguru remarks, there is no insurance for love. It takes awareness to keep it alive. If you accept that, fear reduces. 4. Anchor yourself in your own life. Do not build your emotional house on someone else's presence. Be full, be joyful, then share that joy rather than depend on someone for it. The script can illustrate with a story or metaphor. Perhaps the flower house metaphor, or the queen story that Sadhguru tells of a king and queen and 2 miners, and how the queen's love transcended fear because it was not built on bargaining or insecurity. This illustrates high-level love. You can summarize, love scares us because we confuse it with expectation, dependency, fragility. True love is fearless because it grows from wholeness and becomes inclusive. For your audience, you will guide them gently, from recognizing their fear, understanding its mechanisms, and then introducing practical tools to shift into love that no longer scares. You can close Part 1 by promising Part 2 will explore love in action, how to carry that state into relationships, how to deal with betrayal, how to sustain love when the other changes, how to integrate love into your content creator life, if relevant, how to extend love beyond romantic relationships, into life, creation, community. Let us now go deeper into what happens when we carry this fearless love into real life. Sadhguru often reminds people that relationships are not about the other person fulfilling your expectations, but about you expressing the highest possibilities within yourself. He says, if you are loving, you are a beautiful being. Whether someone loves you or not is their choice. This single idea reverses the entire structure of fear. Most human fear in love comes from waiting for a response, a sign, a return. We keep asking silently, will they stay? Do they feel the same? What if they stop loving me? The mind becomes a hostage to uncertainty. But if love is your nature, not a currency to trade, you cannot lose it. You may lose a relationship, but love as a state within you remains untouched. In one of his talks, Sadhguru says, you are not afraid of losing love. You are afraid of losing your illusion about love. When you believe love must look a certain way, fit a specific form, last forever in the same pattern, that illusion breeds fear. When the form changes, the illusion cracks and you call that heartbreak. But love itself never dies. It is like sunlight. Its presence is constant. Only the clouds of expectation cover it. This understanding is the key to freedom. Many people, especially in modern culture, equate love with possession. The Sadhguru dismantles that completely. Love is not about owning someone. It is about dissolving boundaries. Ownership creates anxiety because anything you think you own can be taken away. The more you claim to possess, the greater your fear of loss. Therefore, the paradox. We hold tighter thinking it will make love safe, but the tighter we hold, the faster it suffocates. Sadhguru's vision of love is rooted in inner expansion. If you become boundless, there is nothing to lose, because everything is already within your inclusion. So he says, love is not something that you do. Love is the way you are. When you're in that state, fear has no place to rest. Let us apply this in daily life. Imagine a relationship where you stop demanding reassurance. Instead of asking, do you love me? You simply exist lovingly. That presence itself transforms the space between two people. The other may feel free, relaxed, unthreatened, and paradoxically more drawn to you. When love is not a cage, but an atmosphere, it naturally sustains itself. In another discourse he says, if you love somebody, set them free. If they resist, it is not love, it is clinging. This is not romantic poetry, it is psychological precision. Clinging arises from the idea that another person completes you, but no one can complete you. Only you can experience your own completeness. Once that is known, love becomes a celebration, not a survival tool. Still, many will ask how to practice this. It sounds lofty, but life is messy. Sadhguru's approach is experiential. He encourages people to turn inward first. Through yoga, meditation, or simple awareness exercises, you dismantle the boundaries that create fear. When your identity shifts from the small me to a larger sense of life, your capacity to love without fear increases. You begin to perceive others as extensions of yourself, not as threats to your security. In that perception, jealousy, control, and anxiety start to fade. He explains that in yoga, the word ananda means bliss, not because something happened to you, but because you are simply aligned with existence. From that state, whether someone loves you or leaves you, you remain undisturbed. This does not make you indifferent. It makes you stable. True love requires stability, not drama. Sadhguru often critiques how popular culture glorifies pain in love. Songs, movies, and stories teach that suffering proves depth. He says this is a misunderstanding. Love is not pain. Love is a possibility of transcending pain. When you suffer in love, it usually means you are touching your boundaries and they hurt. The pain is not from love, but from resistance. So your audience must see that fear and pain are indicators that the ego's limits are being challenged. The choice is whether to retreat into those walls again or to expand beyond them. In one conversation, Sadhguru laughed and said, "If love is scary, good. That means something real is happening. Fear appears only when boundaries tremble. Therefore, fear is not an enemy, but a signal of growth. The wise do not fight the fear. They observe it until it dissolves. Love and fear can coexist for a while, but as awareness deepens, fear evaporates because there is no separate me left to defend. In practical terms, what does fearless love look like? It looks like being kind without agenda, speaking truthfully, even when it may cost you affection, allowing others to change, allowing yourself to outgrow certain attachments. Without guilt, it is the freedom to feel deeply without demanding permanence. Sadhguru describes it as being intense but not entangled. Intensity means full involvement. Entanglement means identification. When you are entangled, the other's action dictates your emotion. When you are intense, yet unattached, you participate completely but remain free. This distinction is the medicine for fear. Another reason love scares us is that it exposes our illusions of control. When we love, we feel vulnerable. But Sadhguru points out that vulnerability is the doorway to the infinite. You cannot experience life fully if you are guarded. He compares it to standing at the edge of a cliff. The view is breathtaking, but you must drop your grip to feel it. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is openness. Without openness, there is no love, only negotiation. When you see vulnerability as strength, the fear of it subsides. Let us bring this to a universal scale. Sadhguru often extends the discussion from personal love to love as a cosmic quality. He says the whole existence is held together by a kind of profound affection. From the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, everything dances in interdependence. If humans align with that, love becomes not a moral duty, but a natural state. Then you no longer say, I love this person or I fear losing them. You simply live lovingly. In that state, fear cannot survive because fear is a symptom of separation. Once you experience life as one continuum, fear becomes irrelevant. For your audience, the takeaway can be condensed. Fear exists only when I and you are separate. Love exists when I and you dissolve into we. The larger your sense of we, the smaller your fear. Sadhguru says, if you include everything as yourself, what is there to be afraid of? In your narration, invite reflection with pauses. Ask them to imagine loving without the narrative of ownership. Let them visualize how light it would feel to love without the pressure of guarantee. That moment of imagination can act as meditation. You can close the video by returning to the question, why does love scare us so much? The answer, because we confuse attachment. With love, dependency with devotion, emotion with essence. We fear love because true love demands the death of the small self, the surrender of control. It is not the other we fear losing, it is ourselves. But if you are willing to lose that limited self, you find that love is not frightening, it is liberation. And by echoing Sadhguru's final pointer, love is not about somebody else. Love is the quality of your being. When you are in touch with that, fear is finished. As the video fades, you can leave viewers with silence or a soft line of reflection. If love scares you, don't run. Sit with it.